What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Multiverse Monologues, the podcast show where we like to travel across the multiverses and fandoms that we love to talk about the movies and television shows that accompany those universes. And today we are very, very sadly taking a step away from the MCU and the Marvel movie marathon to talk about a movie that is much maligned in the superhero community, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Yes, that is the movie for the discussion today. I am your co-host, Ben Rayside, and today, joining me as always, as we journey through the multiverse of Marvel films, is first and foremost, Mr. Ethan Westloff. Ethan, how are you doing?
You know, I'm happy to be back in this room with you too, and I'm happy to talk about this topic. You know, years before Robert Pattinson donned the cowl and became Vengeance, Nicolas Cage did in this movie, Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. So yeah, much like this movie versus the Batman, I'm excited. Much better movie.
I think we've got a contender here. Would you say so, Mr. Micah Hetz? How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty great, and you know, going into this movie, I was very excited. I mean, we have the minds of David S. Goyer manning the helm, writing this fantastic movie, and we see the bits of masterpiece that are Heath Ledger's Joker in Nick Cage's performance as Ghost Rider. And I just want to say this movie is, I'm going to give my score out early. There is a 1 in the score.
Oh.
There may be a 0, whether it's before or after the 0 is.
Before or after the decimal.
We will see. We'll see.
Is it a 1 or is it a 10? You people are in for a treat. You're going to find out.
Indeed. It's also, I would consider it a treat if you would go over to the YouTube channel and give us a subscribe. We're seeing some steady growth on the YouTube channel as of late, so consider checking us out there. We've got a bunch of cool videos, as well as a bunch of podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. So feel free to go check those out, show support, leave a review, and if so, we will read that on our weekly show. But without further ado, gentlemen, let's open our sling rings and head over to Nick Cage's Ghost Rider universe once again.
There's good and bad in all of us. Some demons you just can't escape.
I need your help. The devil has a new form more powerful than he's ever known. Save the world and lift your curse.
I'm not afraid of you.
You should be.
The rider's coming.
Hell yes.
So, Spirit of Vengeance, is it any good? I normally don't do this right from the outstart, but I'd like to know what the reviews are saying. And as always, Micah has curated all of the scores across all of the media outlets, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, the audience scores to curate a one central ranking as far as like movies and television goes. But for Spirit of Vengeance, I'd like to know what the IMDb score is, the Rotten Tomatoes score, and the overall critics' consensus.
Yeah, everyone is pretty well in agreement that this movie is subpar. We'll say that. Rotten Tomatoes critic gives it an 18, audience is a 31, Metacritic gives it a 34, Metacritic audience gives it a 42. Then we have IMDb at a 4.3 and Letterboxd at an 3.8. Wow. So 3.8 is actually
Letterboxd
not
a
bad.
little high there, huh?
Hold on, what?
Oh, wait. Hold on. I forget. Letterboxd I do times 2 to just get it in the nice average. So 19, 1.9.
1.9.
It's a 1.9.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
So average across the board, we're sitting at about a 34%.
Okay. All right.
And if you guys don't know, Rotten Tomatoes rates it a little differently. Metacritic does a little differently, where they do acceptance, like is it good or bad?
Right.
Audience approval. It's not a score out of 10. It's a percentage of approval. So overall, this movie has been critically panned, thrown in the trash. Let me see what the monies look like here. We have the first movie. Its box office was $229 million with a budget of 120 million. This movie had a budget of, get this, $57 million.
Whoa, they cut the budget a ton.
Yes, less than, what is that? Less than a third
Okay.
of the budget. No, a little less than half. My math was a bit wrong.
Okay.
And it made 150 million. So
It made its money back.
Despite the low budget, or because of the low budget, it actually made more profit proportionately than the first movie. The first movie made just a little less than double of its budget, and this one made 2.5 times its budget.
Okay.
So this technically was a commercial success.
I wonder if that had to do with the 3D aspect of it, the tickets being more expensive, and that may be due to it's a little bit of a success, but much critically maligned. So for those, I've actually never met anyone who has seen Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. So Ethan, if you would be so kind as to recap this movie for our uninitiated.
This was one of the movies I didn't even know existed. Did you guys know that Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance exists? I knew the first one existed.
I did.
You did, Ben? You knew that this movie existed and that it released between Captain America and the Avengers?
Now that I didn't know, but I know of this. Yeah. All of the Marvel movies, I'm aware of their existence. It's just I've never taken the time of day to sit down and watch them. That's why this is so cool that we're doing, even if we get duds like Electro and Hulk.
Yeah, it seems like every chronological year for release dates, we have to have at least one stinker so far. We haven't had a year where everything's all just peak movies.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. We've had just years where there was only single movies that came out. 2002 had Blade 2 and Spider-Man 2. Those were highly rated.
2014 is going to be
2014 is going to be good. I think 2013 that's got Dark World.
But Ethan, if you could
read the summary
for us.
Yeah, so the directors of Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance are Mark Neveldine and Brian Taylor. And this movie has some very interesting writing credits on it. We have Scott M. Gimble, who is the executive producer for the Walking Dead universe, and he has been for a while. Then we have Seth Hoffman, and then we have David S. Goyer, who, if you're not familiar with David S. Goyer, basically, if you've liked something that has come out in DC and is Batman related in the past 10, 15 years, David S. Goyer, or Superman, yeah. David S. Goyer had a hand on that. So it is very funny that he also had a hand in this movie, which is about, what is this movie about? Let's see. Johnny Blaze, a man who made a deal with the devil, is on the run trying to make sure no one is harmed by his alter ego, the Ghost Rider. He's approached by a monk named Moreu, who tells him that he can help free him of this rider curse. But first, he needs Johnny's help to protect a boy whom Rourke plans. Rourke is the name of the devil in this movie. He plans to take him to, I don't know what this concludes, helps to take him human form. I don't know. Whoever typed this synopsis put as much effort as the guys did who wrote the script.
Whoa, are you saying that you don't like this critically maligned movie, Ethan?
Yes, I think we are all hinting at that, and we're not even hinting at this point. We just basing on our body language. And what's funny is so this is one of the movies on this list where we all watched together. Movie ended, and I'm like, that was horrible.
Is it number 4 that we've seen together? Are we keeping track? Howard the Duck, Fantastic Four, X-Men Origins Wolverine. No, X-Men First Class. Yep.
I watched Origins with you, but Ben was not
That's
there.
right. That's right. First Class was together this movie. And then this.
Yep. But anyway, this movie finished. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then little do I realize Micah is rewinding it. Micah, why did you have to rewind the end of this movie?
I may or may not have slept in the last 5 minutes of this movie. I tried real hard, boys. But when it's a dark room and that comfy couch, cuddled up right next to Ben, I was snoozing right there.
Listen, you work in the morning, you work your 8-hour day, and you have to go home to watch Spirit of Vengeance.
Peak cinema?
Like, this movie is so
dense.
So terrible. So terrible. It is so bad. It might just be the worst movie we've seen on the watch through yet. I'm so interested to hear the scores, because whether a movie is good or bad, I always am interested to hear where this places in our ranking. And we have a contender here, not for the best, not for the most mid, but for the worst movie, I think, in our watch through so far. This was atrocious. This was an atrocious film. Halfway through, we looked at the runtime. There was a half an hour left, and even I sitting there was flabbergasted that I had to sit another 30 minutes and watch this movie.
You know, speaking of rankings, there is one ranking that I forgot to mention in our lists. And if you guys don't know, Hollywood Reporter put out a list ranking all of the Marvel movies. They put out 70 movies. It was before Black Panther, Wakanda Forever came out. And
if this isn't in the bottom 5, I'm going to be pissed.
it's not in the bottom 5.
What?
How about bottom 10?
Bottom 10, yes.
Okay.
Both Ghost Riders are in the bottom 10. Ghost Rider is 60. Where do you guys think Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is at?
63.
Ooh, close.
62.
62?
Okay.
Wow. What a man. So just below Daredevil is Ghost Rider. Just below Ghost Rider is Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer. Just below that is Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. And just below Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance is Ben's favorite movie, The Punisher.
It was not that bad.
According to Hollywood Reporter, which I trust this list very much.
I'm going to Silver Surfer.
Yeah, Silver Surfer
I
wasn't
like
bad.
that movie, man. It's not the best for
wait.
sure.
Never mind. I rated it bad. I thought it was bad. I
don't like that one.
No.
Wait, you know what? You know what's underneath The Punisher though is Fantastic Four, the old one that we already reviewed, and that one we thought was pretty good.
Well, comparatively.
And then The Fantastic Four is underneath that, the 1994 one, and then below that is Elektra, and that's the movie that I like to see how close we are to comparing.
Because what is our lowest film right now?
Elektra
At
a 2.6.
Yeah, can you name the bottom 5 films?
Bottom
for
5,
us?
yes, sir. Let me reorganize my list here. So, bottom 5. Wow, we have 20. This is the 26th movie, guys.
26.
We have Elektra, Howard the Duck, Daredevil, Hulk, and Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer in ascending order.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to see where this movie shakes out, but just to get the ball rolling here, this is going to be very holiday special-esque, because the first Ghost Rider, I would say, has some redeeming qualities. Would you guys say that? Maybe not, Ethan.
Yeah. Where did first Ghost Rider fall?
First Ghost Rider for us landed at 15th place.
Okay.
Ethan, you gave it a 4.5. You weren't too keen on it. Ben, you gave it a 6, and I gave it a 7.8, giving our score a 6.1 out of 10, which isn't that bad of a movie. I think that it had some great parts to it. The jokes were actually written in there instead of just lazily thrown in. I feel, Ethan, I'm sure you can say you didn't like the first Ghost Rider,
right?
But would you say that it at least had jokes in it?
I'd say that there were
Even
elements
if there
to
were, some were
where
bad.
you could consider liking it. Yeah.
But there were some elements of Nick Caginess in the first movie.
Yeah.
Did it matter that it was Nick Cage in this movie at all?
He was very unhinged, and it didn't matter at all. This, whatever they did. Let's just talk about how this movie was shot. This movie was very much shot. So if anyone listening, and you two guys have worn a VR before, you know how you get motion sickness after wearing a VR?
Yeah. That's
how I felt 10 minutes into this movie. I felt like I had to take the VR goggles off. My head was hurting just watching this movie, because they shot it in a way that this movie was meant to be in 3D, right? It was very clear just by the way a lot of the shots were framed, and it was like last week when the Red Skull's car pulled up into our faces. It was very much
reach
like
out
that.
and touch it.
Yeah, but the whole movie, and it also felt shaky cam was crazy. Yeah, that's not a good lead into this.
Like everything was a handheld shot. Every single shot, even if it was just a sitting shot, just a wide, whatever, normal full frame. What I don't know what the technical terms are, but it was all. I think they're called vertigo shots, based on the Alfred Hitchcock movie Vertigo, where they walk backwards while zooming in at the same time to bring the back forward, and then they just go right back into where it was to give it this sort of perspective to make it look better in 3D, make it look more interesting. If you guys have seen Spider-Man No Way Home, listeners, I'm sure you guys have, when Peter Parker has the spider sense going on, that's a vertigo shot where the back kind of does that thing. So they did that so often in just unnecessary scenes at the beginning of this movie that it made it hard to watch. If you're focused on the editing in a movie, then the editor did a bad job. Editing should seem seamless. It should not be as noticeable as it is in this movie.
And sometimes when you watch a YouTuber, for example, and the YouTube video is happening, you can see that the editor will throw some fun flares in there, like the editor is playing around.
Yeah.
And I felt that with this movie, especially with some cutaway sequences. Specifically, there's a sequence where, so there's a young boy in this movie, and he asks Ghost Rider, what if you are in Ghost Rider form and you have to urinate? Right? And Ghost Rider proceeds to, Nick Cage proceeds to tell this man, well, it would, I suppose.
This little boy,
he's like, I suppose it would be like a fire hydrant. So then Nick Cage, so they're on a truck, right? They're on a truck on a highway to set the stage. Go look it up. If you're very curious, go look it up. But they're on a truck and he leans over. He's like, he like grabs his crotch a little and he's like, it probably looks something like this. Then there's a cutaway. And it is this boy imagining Nick Cage in Ghost Rider form, shooting fire urine everywhere, like a flamethrower.
He turns around and he gives him like a soap, like a.
Hey, what if you have to pee while you're on fire?
Oh, it's awesome. It's like a flamethrower. You know, it's like.
I couldn't even believe I saw that for the first time. Like him doing that, I was like, this can't be real. He's peeing fire.
It was in the trailer too.
What?
That's crazy they would include that scene in the trailer. There were, every single time they did one of those cutaways where it was some sort of animated part, or when there was that handshake where it kind of looked like the Pink Floyd album cover. You guys see that one, Wish You Were Here, where it's a dude on fire and then a dude not on fire and they're shaking hands. That, and then there was just the exposition stuff at the beginning where it was talking about the first movie, but not the first movie. It was really weird. They were explaining Ghost Rider's origin, but it was not Ghost Rider's origin as we saw in the first movie. It was very different. Very.
I feel like they switched some things up.
They did switch some things.
They changed his origin, much like with the two Punisher movies we watched on this watch through.
Also, a Marvel Knights.
Also, Marvel Knights. Yes, those had very different origin stories that we saw revealed in the second movie, but it also had a completely different actor portraying the role. This is still Nick Cage, so I don't know why that's the least of my concerns, the change of his origin, because I did think that the origin in the first one was stupid, because the whole dilemma of Ghost Rider is, I can't believe I sold my soul to the devil, but in the first movie, the devil tricks him into it anyway, so Nick Cage should have no remorse over signing the deal with the devil because he was tricked into it.
Right.
Oh man, I looked up the Marvel Knights cinematic universe to see like what movies were all under this Marvel Knights logo, right? And it looks like the trolls have gotten to the Wikimedia page, because our list goes Punisher, Elon Musk, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Morbius, the Punisher to be announced film, Punisher Warzone 2, Minions Rise of Gru, and American Psycho. So
American Psycho.
Yeah, the amazing Quandale Dingle, Daredevil Without Fear. Yeah.
But I believe
I think it's just the Punisher Warzone, the Punisher.
No, it's just Punisher
Punisher
Warzone and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
Was Daredevil part of it? No?
No,
No?
It was not. It's just those two. And it was only ever those two. Nothing ever comes of the Marvel Knights. And what's interesting about this movie is so maligned that the rights reverted instantly back to Marvel Studios within a matter of months. They messed up so badly that it went straight back to Marvel Studios, and basically they aren't going to do
That's
anything.
the first time we've seen that happen. Like, movies have failed.
Oh yeah,
They really
there is
have.
just 2 movies confirmed,
And
we'll never see that logo again. Probably.
Nope.
I doubt that we'll ever go back to that. I don't think we'll ever do the West Coast Avengers where it's Marvel Knights adjoined. I don't know.
Because as of right now, I think cinematic rights are held by Sony, Disney, the MCU, and then partially Universal. Yeah, with the Hulk. So Marvel Knights is dead. They're done.
I'm fine with that because the 2 movies we got are absolutely atrocious.
Now, have any of you guys seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I am actually. I've seen the first season, and I'm currently rewatching it. Are you referring to Robbie Ray as Ghost Rider in
I
Agents
did
of
hear
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
that Ghost Rider is in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I just haven't seen it yet.
He is, yes.
And what have you seen him in the show yet?
I've seen clips, but I haven't seen the specific parts of him.
Yeah.
I would like to see a Johnny Blaze in the MCU. Like, I would love Ghost
sure.
Rider because the character of Ghost Rider is such a cool concept. A flaming, like this could be done so well, especially now. And that's part of the problem because we just got off of Captain America, a superhero that, by definition should be kind of hard to make a film about. You could go World War II, but this is a superhero in World War. I mean, it's kind of hard to make a movie about him, Thor especially. And they nail those movies, man. They nail the heart. And then we get a movie like this far into superheroes as a genre. Iron Man, it can't fall on, Warzone being Iron Man came out, earlier this year. No, Iron Man came out three years ago. Like, and movies like this are still getting churned out.
Good movies have always been good movies. Even an old movie that is good, is still good and still holds up in certain ways. So even that is an excuse. Like, oh, the superhero movie standard wasn't up to par yet. You still should never have a movie like this ever.
Good point. Great point. Because the atrocities that this film commits, and it reminds me of films like Elektra, like Hulk in the past, of just having the most random Daredevil,
Yeah.
Most random villains and moments that just, whatever. Like, the devil turns that one guy into a blonde, like almost like a gray.
There was a point in this movie because we watched the trailer before this movie, so it set us up. It's like, all right, this is what the plot is going to be. They tell us in the trailer.
The greatest movie we've ever seen.
So we're like, because just watching the trailer, you're like, okay, that looks like there are some cool action sequences in this. At least we'll get that. And then it's probably like 3 minutes into the movie when you realize, oh, this is going to be terrible. And it was that quick. And like that blonde thing happening, that dude being transformed into whatever, the zombie, I didn't even care about that because I had just checked out. I stopped caring about everything that far into the movie because, for the first like 10, 15 movies, you're still open. You're still like, all right, buy me into this world. I'm excited to see what you have to offer. But then once that flops, everything else is going to fail after that.
And there are movies that begin, and movies on our list that aren't as well received by us, that begin with full-on action. We see Punisher, Warzone, I think it was. Yeah, that one began at the Manor, right?
Yep.
And I think that's a comparable beginning where you can, well, not comparable, but you can say this is how you do it a little bit better, even if it is a bad movie, right?
Yeah.
So
let people know right away this movie's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Punisher Warzone, you say, okay, well, at least we got a feeling for what this movie's gonna be. We see that there's gonna be a lot of gore, a lot of violence, a lot of shooting that's good. Violence that makes sense, because in Ghost Rider, there's no stakes. Ghost Rider's invincible. He doesn't die. He doesn't get hurt in any way because it doesn't affect him in battle.
And it would be better if this movie like didn't take itself seriously. And I've seen a lot of reviews that's like, it's just fun. You can't take it too seriously. Ghost Rider has a peeing scene.
It wasn't fun.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. And there are moments where legitimately like he goes off the rails. But then you have a scene where he sits down with Idris Elba in then like that cave system, and he's talking about the choice, the decision with his father, and they get serious, and you're like, I feel none of this. This is horrible. Like, I do not care about your motivation at all. You're wasting screen time. Show me Ghost Rider lighting up. And even those scenes, because of how terrible the movie is, fall so flat. It's an embarrassment of a movie. It is so bad that in 2011, and I like what you said. I like you correcting me. Good movies are good movies. Something like this should never, ever be made. Ever.
One thing that compelled us all to watch it together was we were like, oh, it's only an hour 30 minutes. But they really work to make that an hour 30 minutes because it is stretched, and there are sequences that are 100% added in post of Nick Cage narrating something, or even these random shots that doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. It's like it fades to an all black background, and it's just this guy running. It's like, what's the studio requirement? Do you think this movie had to be an hour and a half?
Yeah, it had to be an hour and a half.
It had to be.
They were filling in this runtime with what you were saying, these like, animated, just low budget, whatever 2D things, and it looked like
shoots.
It looked like the creepypasta videos you'll see on YouTube where they just throw together whatever to go along with this is the story of Slender Man. Whatever stupid horror story they're telling.
It was like they forgot to deliver the exposition fully enough through the characters, so they had to do these weird creepypasta 3-minute segments to catch you up.
The exposition was so bad. Oh, it was awful. Nick Cage would say every single cliche line. I bet you're wondering why I'm here, and and this is what happened next, and then I was bare bottom in the air in my motorcycle, and then my dad died, and that wasn't even in the first movie with the butt thing. That jump was in the first movie, but he wasn't half naked. Well, they added so many weird things. Every decision they make in this movie just further proves that they didn't have a plan going in.
Every scene that Nick Cage is in, like, I know he can be eccentric and weird, but this movie, I feel like he almost takes it to another level, because there's the scene where he has that guy pinned up against a wall. It's kind of like the first one, and he's acting Joker-esque. He's like, there's this guy, and he's in my body.
I want to know how I got these cars.
And he's hungry, Like, I'm gonna play the clip, but it's such a bad piece of acting, and again, it just reaffirms the point that why are we having Nicolas Cage, of all actors, play Ghost Rider, of all characters?
Rick must have told me about that thing that killed his men last night, huh? Yeah? That thing is inside of me. See, you're a bad man. And this thing, the Rider, he feeds on Batman, and he's hungry. He's hungrier than he's been in years, and that's why I'm shaking. Because right now, the only thing standing between you and the Rider is me. And he's scraping at the door! Scraping at the door! All right, if you don't tell me what I want to know, I'm gonna let him out.
Well, totally doesn't fit.
It worked better in the first movie when they actually played into him being Nick Cage. They actually 3D scanned his skull for the first movie and put it on Ghost Rider, so it's Nick Cage as Ghost Rider.
Yes.
He loves the character Ghost Rider. He has a tattoo of him on his arm or something, right? And for this movie, they didn't even use the same scan for the skull.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Redesigned.
They threw everything out the window from the first movie and created this Marvel Knights version where, sure, it looked cooler, where he had the ashy looking skull. It was burned, it was charred, and then the leather was bubbling on his coat. Those were pretty sick. That's the only thing I can say was cool about this movie, was that single 20-second clip of his close-up on the coat. None of the action was good. None of the fight scenes were good. None of the car scenes were interesting at all. None of the character moments were moments at all. None of the plot points made any sense. There was no correlation between the beginning and the end. You don't know the motive of why he's even trying to get rid of his powers, because in the first movie, they give him the opportunity to get rid of his powers, and he chooses not to in spite of the devil. He's like, I'm not going to get rid of my powers because I will use them for whatever. I forget what it was. It doesn't matter. But I remember he had that choice in the first movie. And he wanted to spend time with his girlfriend or something instead. And that girlfriend's not even in this movie at all.
Eva Mendes, yeah. She was asked to return and decided, you know what? I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Someone
else
who was set to return was Peter Fonda, who played Mephistopheles in the first one, aka the devil. He was offered to return. He read the first 5 pages of the script and he said, nah, I'm good.
That's kind of how we were too when we started watching this. We watched the first 5 pages and we were pretty much clocked out.
Something tells me that even the studio knew how bad this
they only
movie
gave him,
was.
$57 million?
Because listen to this. This movie was not screened for test audiences.
Wow.
Usually, for those who don't know, a movie, any type of movie, is screened before it releases, well into its production. It may not be finished, but it's screened and tested for audiences, and they can give input. That scene maybe doesn't, because while you're making a film, it's different than when you're just going to sit down and watching it for the first time. This movie did not go through that process at all, and you can tell. But it seems like the creators are aware of how bad this movie is and just pushed it out. This was an accidental success. I cannot believe it made as much money as it did, because it is so horrible. And unless there's anything else you guys have to say about this horrible movie, we can jump into favorite characters if we have anything.
What year did this come out?
2011, December, I believe, right?
Wait, hold on. I have February 17, 2012.
That's right. It did. The trailers did show February. So 2012.
I'm looking at 3D was huge at the time, right?
Mm-hmm. Avatar came out 2 years prior.
What movies were 3D in 2011? That's what I'm looking at here. I'm seeing Green Lantern.
Oof.
I'm seeing Puss in Boots. I'm seeing Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Peak.
I'm seeing Deathly Hallows Part 2, Happy Feet 2, Hugo, Cars 2. Nothing's... Captain America was in 3D for a little bit. Nothing's really coming to me saying, all right, this... Oh, Thor was back in theaters for 3D. Transformers.
When did Spy Kids 3D come out?
Yeah. I don't even know.
When was that? That's a staple of the childhood right there. Spy Kids 3D.
3.
Oh, wow.
There was a Spy Kids movie that came out in, All the Time in the World came out in 2011, it looks like. The Smurfs came out in 2011. Not much in the way... Oh, Kung Fu Panda 2. Lots of kids movies. Not too many adult movies or geared towards more grown-up peoples. But I was just trying to find some reason why this made so much money. I don't see it. I don't see the appeal.
It's got to be the 3D. It's got to, because we didn't see it, and there are shots that go like that, but maybe they work in 3D, so maybe people went back.
This movie was shot in 2D. It wasn't shot for 3D.
Oh.
I just found that out right now.
Huh.
Well, they did a lot to make it look like it was shot in 3D.
The 3D was actually criticized for not being good.
So it wasn't the 3D.
What does it say? Rolling Stone called it a dreadful mess, a dishwater full dull sequel to the hellishly bad 2007 original, and he never seen worse 3D.
Yeah, that's
hellishly is a good adjective for this movie.
So it's a horrible movie, but is there something that we can take out of it? Micah, is there a character that you find in this movie possibly? I mean, you can say no, but is there a character that is your favorite in Ghost Rider? It's almost an obligation to ask that at this point.
Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. Don't mix it up with the Peak. That is the first one.
First one, yep.
The first one was peak compared to this.
Let's explain why it's called Spirit of Vengeance. Micah, would you?
Oh,
since
yeah.
you got to rewatch this part of the movie.
So it's
Or you
called Spirit of
slept through
Vengeance
it. Yeah.
because a part of this movie talks about the lore of the devil powers that were granted upon Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, and there's a spirit of justice,
Yes.
a blue flame that was once in heaven and then fell.
Once an angel. Yes.
Oh, it was an angel, yes, that fell to hell and was condemned and became the spirit of vengeance. And that is the power that is inflicted on Ghost Rider. At the end of the movie, we see that he now has blue flame and it's daylight out. At the beginning of the movie, we see that he can't go out into the light and use his Ghost Rider abilities. So at the end of the movie, it's daytime out. He uses his blue flame and heals the devil kid, Danny, dude. And who also has the powers of Satan and was able to grant the powers of the Ghost Rider back to Ghost Rider when he lost the powers earlier in the movie because he had them taken him out through communion. Yes.
Which this movie fully acknowledges that Christ is real. Right?
That's right.
Is that what it does?
Praise God. This is
Amen,
our
yes.
second or third movie about, that proclaims the gospel.
Amen.
What do we have? Daredevil?
Gosh.
Ghost Rider and Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance. I think those are all of our movies so far.
Praise be.
If you want some truly peak religious superhero television, go watch the Netflix
Jesus
Daredevil
Revolution.
show. Or Jesus Revolution.
Yeah,
But
it's hard to say which one's better, but I think for me, I have a clear
Yeah.
winner.
who is it?
I think Jesus Revolution is a bit better.
So, do you guys have a scene in this movie that
No.
right when you saw that scene, you're like, yeah, this movie sucks?
Oh.
Instead
all
of
of them.
favorite scene, let's do
Yeah,
that.
let's do
That's a
this.
good
Least
one.
favorite
Yep.
scene?
The scene where you're like,
Can
oh,
I
yeah,
pick the one that I slept through?
this was hot trash. To me, the
Yeah.
scene that really solidified what kind of movie this was going to be was when he hops in the crane or whatever it was. It was a big saw, I guess, big saw blade.
It
But
looked like one of those water things, the like aqua powered electric things, the mills.
A mill.
Yeah.
It looked
Yep.
like a mill.
Yep.
So I had the buckets on the end, right? And it just caught on fire.
So yes, it is. Was it established in this movie, or was it established in the last movie that, whatever? We'll say this movie that anything that Ghost Rider hops in and drives becomes a big flaming.
That was the horse.
vehicle. There was the horse, but that was the other Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I can't think of a one.
But no, he hops in a crane, and the VFX and the way that it was shot and Ghost Rider's mannerisms while operating the crane, really, that's when I'm like, all right, that's probably 30 minutes into the movie. That's when I checked out and I was like, when is this going to be over? I don't care anymore. And I never cared, but that's when it was established, all right, I can throw this in the trash.
For me, it was much sooner than that.
Me
It
too.
like you could just tell. And unfortunately, I'm going to pin Idris Elba on this one.
Shout out to Idris Elba. He's in this movie. You know, he's a second appearance on this watch through. You know, he played Heimdall just a few short years ago, and he's fallen far from that.
In a much better movie, Thor. Go check that podcast out. We had fun with that. But his accent and mannerisms and dialogue, what he's written for, told me everything I needed to know about this movie, because Idris Elba is a great actor.
He's great.
We
Yeah.
know this. And if this is what is to come, I know that Nick Cage is, definitely not going to come up to the caliber that Idris Elba is. And Idris Elba set the bar low. So I don't think partially it's his fault. I think he saw the paycheck and was like, all right, I'm going to have fun. And I can't blame the guy for that, So, but for me, it was during those first scenes, and as well as how it was shot, dude. It just a terrible, terrible opening sequence. But Micah, what would you say? What scene really solidified it for you?
Real quick, while we're on Idris Elba, he's referenced as a Frenchman about halfway through the movie, and we had already been in multiple scenes with him. At no point did I ever say, "Oh, being French, that's one of his characteristics.
Yep.
That is one of his defining traits." No, I never thought that. only after that, when I started paying attention to what his accent truly was, he had an inflection on one word, and I was able to say, "Oh, okay, that's where the French is coming from."
I guess they're trying to do that, right?
Yeah. Remember, it was during the wine scene.
Yep.
Maybe 3/4 of the way through the movie.
Oof.
For me, going back to the one scene where they're on, I don't even know what building it was. It doesn't even matter.
Doesn't
They
matter.
have the guy pinned up against the wall. He's got the phone in the dude's mouth, and he's playing all Joker, Heath Ledger on him. And he's just like twitching out, and his face is going in and out of Ghost Rider face. It's like his eye is pushing into his skull to.
That was weird.
I don't get it. Why does it have to? It's not unnerving. It's just cringe. There's no other word to put it. It was just like bad. He wasn't getting to a level that was scary, and he wasn't playing it funny, and he wasn't. The score underneath it wasn't enough to keep it from getting to that level.
The score was also disappointing in this movie. It reminds me of the meme that's like, the expectations for your project were low, but holy crap, this was on another level.
And respect to the actors and the writers, because they go on to do really good things elsewhere. But what happened with this movie? Yeah, there's no excuse for how this turned out, and it is no shock to me that the rights to these characters went right back to the studios.
So here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Before we go to scores,
okay,
I want to challenge all three of us here today. Say something good about Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance. Ethan, can you name one good thing about this film? Something that you enjoyed.
So something I enjoy about this movie is it brought the three of us together first. We got to watch a movie together.
That counts.
Does that count? Will you accept that?
I will accept
not
that,
movie
yes.
Specific.
Mm-hmm. But that will factor, yeah. That counts.
The best part of Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance are the friends we made along the way. Is that what you're saying?
That is
think
what I'm
so.
saying. But Mike, I think I know the best part of the movie for you.
This movie gave me the greatest gift of all, and it was 10 minutes of
nap.
undisturbed sleep.
It was a nap. Yes. Ben, I think
Holy
the ball
cow.
is in your court. What did this movie do for you?
What am I going to say? I will say
You did
that-
get an orange.
So I got an orange, and I will say I laughed quite a bit.
You got orange slices.
Yeah.
Much
I
like
brought
Ant-Man.
a bag of
Look at
oranges. I ate 2, and then that knocked me right out. Ben
Micah
got
came
1.
in clutch. I was on my way, trust me, to falling asleep. If this movie was 2 hours, for sure, I would have fallen asleep.
Ethan, I offered you an orange.
You did. It's in the car. I did not bring it in. I left it in the car. Ben, what did you end up saying? Or you did not say anything?
I think
You posed the question, so you have to.
even the
I
stunts.
laughed. I
The
laughed.
stunts were even bad in this movie. I didn't even talk about that. The highway scene where they're just driving for no reason. Kids on the bike with Nick Cage. Danny's on, and they're just doing wheelies and whatever.
Yeah.
There's no point. I mean, it doesn't even look cool. It doesn't even look cool.
But I like that. Your reason is you laughed. Yeah, anything that can give you laughter is great. And this movie is
Howard the Duck made me laugh.
Right.
This movie did not make me laugh like Howard the Duck did.
This movie goes from terrible to, oh, is it bad? It's good. And then it crosses that line that very few movies do. It goes, oh no, it actually is good. Oh no, it actually is bad. Oh no, it's just bad. Just bad.
No redeeming qualities.
No redeeming qualities.
The line was crossed. You start to feel, oh man, when is this over? And when that happens,
Because I felt like we'd watched it for not even that long. And I already was like, I want this to be over.
I'll tell you who was engaged in this movie, though.
Jeremy
Anderson.
So shout out to Jeremy Anderson. He watched the film with us three.
He sat down. He was like, all right, I'll bring my laptop down. I'll do some work.
I
didn't see him look at his laptop.
I kept looking over at him. Laptop was down. He was watching the movie.
he was invested.
He liked this movie.
I think I saw him crying at one point.
Jeremy, Jeremy, if you're listening to this, write us a review on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, if you've listened this far, you got to leave a 5-star.
Leave us 5 stars.
And also your rating of Ghost Rider.
Yeah, leave your rating of Ghost Rider in the review.
We might make an exception.
Comment down below. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. But speaking of ratings, I think now is the time, gentlemen.
Do we have to?
We definitely have to, because are we going to have... who knows where this movie is going to end up, but I will throw the ball over to Ethan first. I'm gonna softball that thing right
You
to
know what? For the longest time, my lowest rated movie has been Howard the Duck.
Oh, are we breaking some records today?
I think there's no better time to break that record than today.
Even Daredevil, the director's cut, didn't get that low.
At the date of this recording, a year ago today, Howard the Duck podcast posted.
Boom.
So I think there's obviously by the time this is uploaded, it'll be a week and or a year and a week. So we record these a week early just for you listeners to know. But yeah, we started this Marvel movie marathon over a year ago at this point now. How cool is that? And Howard the Duck has stayed at the bottom for that whole year. I think it is more than the right time to put Ghost Rider at the bottom. I like putting this, as Micah teased at the beginning, I like giving this a 1. Ooh. Let's give Ghost Rider a 1 today.
Oh, man.
And I don't need to say why. It was not good.
I think
it was terrible.
Yep. If you've listened, you can realize. But is this Ethan's lowest rated film?
It sure is.
Wow.
For Ethan, it goes Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance, Howard the Duck, and then Daredevil, director's cut.
What did he...
Yeah.
3.5.
3.5 on Daredevil and 2 for Howard the Duck. Yeah.
Wow.
And then there's a couple 4s after that. Ben, this is... Howard the Duck was not your lowest rated.
What was mine? Hulk, I believe, right?
You have
Angry's
2.
Hulk.
No, you have 2 that are 3s. You have Hulk and you have Elektra.
Hulk and Elektra. Okay. I would say that these are both worse than that. I'm going to give this movie a 2.
Ooh. What's worse than Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance? How much lower do you go from here?
Well, so...
Will we have a worse movie than this on the list?
1...
Ooh, there is like New Mutants.
But this is a Marvel movie marathon one.
Yes.
This isn't a broader one.
True.
This is a Marvel movie marathon one, Ben.
True, but even as a film, like I take this as... Like, I'm not basing my reviews, like my scores are based on how I think the quality of the film goes, just in general, in my, film brain, I don't take this in relation to it. Although I do go back and check, what did I give this? Where does this fall?
I love that we are debating if a 2 is too high right now. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that shows how bad this movie was.
What's keeping you from a 1 here?
So what's keeping me from a 1 is that this is still a film that I sat through for an hour and a half.
I think a 0 is a movie that I don't sit through all the way.
Answer this, though. Would you have finished this movie if we weren't recording this podcast and if we weren't all together?
Probably not.
Probably not. So do you have to factor that in?
That's a good point.
You probably would have gave up.
That's a good point.
Probably would have gave up if you didn't have to watch this. Exactly. You have to factor that in, Ben. You did watch the entirety of this movie, but it's because there was a greater reason to it.
That's a good point. Oh, man.
So this is my proposal. Okay. Last movie we watched together, we united. We all had the same score. Can we all collectively... It doesn't have to be a 1, but I think it'll be fun.
I was going to go lower, but I think
you're going to go lower than 1.
I think I can lay out a 1.
If we want to go lower, we
then
can go lower.
If you were going to go lower...
Because I don't think this was as good as Elektra.
It would average out. So let's just do a 1. A 1. I'm good to go with a 1.
I'll go 1.
I'm gonna change up my thing in my personal rating to a 1, and holy catfish, that would put it at a 1 on the podcast. Would that be correct? If you average that out,
the average of us 3 all giving it 1 is 1, Ben.
I'll give it a 1.
I don't think that
I'll give
works.
It a 1.
Oh, 1, baby.
I will say though, I think we can all agree this is the worst movie that we've seen on this list. As far as IMDb goes, Micah, do you have that in order or do you just have it in release order? Because I wonder what the worst rated IMDb Marvel film
I can sort that for you.
is. Oh, look at that, man.
I know, it's pretty great.
Spreadsheet's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Captain America 1990, The Fantastic Four from 1994, Man-Thing 2005, then Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance.
okay.
So those first three we are not reviewing on the podcast since they were not released theatrically. So Ghost Rider, we are in accordance with IMDb.
Just below Fan Four Stick, and then Howard the Duck, and then Elektra, our next lowest. And then Ghost Rider right after that.
Fan Four Stick might be the
We'll
worst
have to see
one.
when that
I'm
comes
surprised
around.
by
That
New
one's
Mutants
bad.
is
We've
so
left
high.
enough buffer room. We have from 0 to 1 to
Yep.
put movies. I like putting Ghost Rider at a 1, but something else that came up in the last podcast. You said we have a tie elsewhere in our
We
rankings.
do have a tie. Yes.
Oh, we got to resolve
We have
this
to
then.
settle
What
this
are
tie.
the two films?
Ooh.
Okay.
Let me sort this out for us. So our score for Spider-Man 3 and X-Men 2 is both a 75. Ethan, you gave Spider-Man 3 a 6.5 and X-Men 2 a 7.5. Ben, you gave both movies a 7.5. I gave Spider-Man 3 an 8.5 and X-Men 2 a 7.5. Giving us an average
So-
of 7.5 for both.
We
we
take
just-
a vote.
We just have to say which of these two movies is better, Spider-Man 3 or X2.
Which movie's better, Ethan, to you?
To me, this is so
I mean, you
long
gave
ago
it
we
a
watched
score that's better.
I did. So X2.
You said X2 is
based
better.
on my score
Yeah.
then. I do think X2 is an overall better film than Spider-Man 3. Yes.
And I said that Spider-Man 3 was a better movie. So, Ben, this comes down to you.
And you gave both a 7.5.
It's your fault, Ben. that we
It
did.
is my fault. It's just because I choose to give it in rankings of 0.5, whatever it is. I don't like doing the 7.1.
This is why we're falling apart.
It could be. I would
Ben's
say
too technical.
X-Men 2 is the better of the films.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
I think Spider-Man 3 is good, but I think X-Men 2 edges it out just a little bit.
So then I'm giving you a 7.51 just to edge it out on our scores, to put it up on the ranking
All right.
and make it just that 0.003 different.
You know, we're going a little short with this one. What if you read the whole order of our list in its
The whole
entirety?
order? All
Out
right.
of 26
Out of
films,
26 films, what is our ranking so far?
starting with number 26.
Pause right here. Let me plug in the score. Oh, you know what? Actually, never mind. I know where it's at. I don't need to do that. It's at the bottom. Okay. So, coming up in 26th place, we have Ghost Rider, Spirit of Vengeance at a 1. Then we have Elektra in 26th place at a 2.6. Howard the Duck at a 4.1. Daredevil at a 4.7. Hulk, that's 2003 Hulk, at a 4.5. Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer at a 4.6.
Interesting.
Punisher Warzone at a 4.8. Then we get into the top 20 with Blade Trinity at a 5.1. X-Men First Class at a 5.5. The Punisher at a 5.56. The Incredible Hulk at a 5.8. Ghost Rider at 6.1. This is our
We've
Here and Up
crossed
is fresh.
6. Yeah,
Yes,
6.
Here and
We've
Up is
crossed
fresh.
6.
Fantastic Four at 15th place is a 6.5. X-Men The Last Stand is a 6.6. X-Men Origins Wolverine is a 6.7.
Much too high on that list. Much too high.
Iron Man, yeah, you gave that a 5.5. That is the highest rotten score you've given for any of the movies. Yeah.
So fresh is
That
where
is the lone green score that I have up there. What do we have? 11th place, Blade at a 6.6. X-Men. Oh, wait. I'm looking at the wrong ones, aren't I? No, wait, yeah. I was looking at the wrong ones for a little bit there. We're good. just for the last two. Blade is at a 6.9.
For which
Nice.
place is Blade?
11th place. I was looking at the average for the online
then
scores.
we round up our top 10 as it stands.
Top 10 goes X-Men at a 7.3. 9 is Blade 2 at a 7.3. X-Men 2 is a 7.5 for 8th place. 7th place is swap those. I haven't fiddled around with it yet. So Spider-Man 3 is a 7.5. X-Men 2 is a 7.503. Then we have 6th place is Spider-Man at a 7.9. Thor is 5th place at 8.3. Captain America is 4th place at 8.33. Iron Man is 3rd place with an 8.8. Oh, sorry, 2nd place. I'll figure this out. Spider-Man 2, 1st place at an 8.9.
When you said Cap as 4th, I'm like, there's a movie that is missing.
I was looking at, so all the way on the left, there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the cell numbers, and then the ranking is the row before that.
Basically, wherever Micah previously stated, it's -1.
Iron Man 2, Spider-Man 2, Iron Man, Captain America are top three. Top three, yeah. I'm going to move this column over so I don't see it away.
And I only have you read that here because I don't know another podcast where we'll have the time to do that.
No.
Because
we might have some later on once we get to New Mutants. We'll have a good recap before what's right after New Mutants? It's right after Endgame. So we'll have a nice breather there.
Indeed.
Before we get into phase 4.
Yes, I like that we're doing this now because we had to suffer truly while watching this movie to get to one of the most anticipated projects. One of the
on this
main
list, I'd
reasons
say for sure.
Oh yeah, that we're doing this Marvel movie marathon. Ethan,
the movie that solidified this love of this genre for me. The Avengers next week. Let's go. The finale of phase 1. What this whole Marvel first phase has been culminating to. And I mean, maybe this whole Marvel movie marathon has been culminating to. Goodness. We're hitting a movie that is truly a milestone, not only for this marathon, but for superhero movies as a whole. This is the team up movie. The Avengers.
A lot of people forget that, like movies like this had not been done ever before in the history of film. And for it to succeed as well as it did, we're going to talk about it next week, but for it to succeed as well as it did is a testament to how excellent the film is. And I think I speak for all of us here. I cannot wait to sit my butt on the couch and watch the first Avengers. It's been a long, long time. As the Henry James song dictates, it's been a long, long time, and I'm so very excited. So stay tuned for that podcast. It's something we all are very much looking forward to. And I don't want to say it now. It's been a while since I've seen it. But this week we had a contender for the worst film of the list. Next week we may or may not have a contender for the best movie in the Marvel movie marathon. But we're going to see. Even
Hollywood Reporter put this in the top spot.
Number one. This is
number one in the
have to
Hollywood Reporter. But the internet gives this a 13th place.
Okay.
All right.
Still not bad.
Not bad.
We'll see.
We're going to see where it ranks in the Multiverse Monologues ranking of the Marvel movie
only one that
marathon.
matters.
The only one that matters.
Indeed,
yes.
Micah. But we thank you for sticking with us for the Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for 1 year of podcasts.
100%. We've been doing this for a year.
Here's to 1,000 more.
If you've been following us since Howard the Duck, like that is
yeah. Message
respect.
us if you've actually watched every movie, because I know a few of the people in my life who started this journey with us and quickly stopped going on this journey with us. So if even if you've listened to all the marathons, thank you. We really appreciate it. The 1 year anniversary of the marathon.
And I can't say that I blame you very much for getting off of the marathon if you started, because
It's rough.
It's rough. Very rough. But we are entering, I would say, now that Ghost Rider's out of the way, a
peak territory.
Peak territory. So yeah, stay tuned and look forward to that. But for all of today's purposes said and done, this is Ben Rayside.
This is Ethan Wetzloff.
This is Micah Hett.
Signing off, we all hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.